Hey, fight fans, welcome back to Stand and Bang Radio. This is the special exclusive interview portion that I promised you guys. I am here with not-so-sweet Charmaine Tweet. How are you doing?
I am doing pretty damn good.
It is so nice to have you back on so soon. We just talked not that long ago, and you were kind of tight-lipped about what was going on with you, and I found out later that that was kind of a contractual thing. But you are the woman. You will be fighting the legend who is known as Cyborg. How did you find out that you were getting that title shot?
You know what? I was at home. I was eating my lunch, and my husband/manager gave me a call, and he's like, "Okay, listen." He says, "Sit down." I'm like, "Okay, I'm sitting down. I'm eating lunch. I'm not standing to do that." And he's like, "I want you to listen very carefully to exactly what I am saying to you, and then I want you to think about it and give me your answer." And yeah, he went on to describe, some of the details of what the fight would entail and when it was going to be and how it would be piggybacking the UFC and that it would be against Cris. And I sat down and said, I was already sitting down, but I said, I don't really think there's anything to think about. I think that we say yes. This is an opportunity that doesn't come along, and it would probably never come along in that particular form ever again. With the UFC the next night and what's going to be happening there. So I said yes. I'm like, talk to the coaches, see how they feel about it, because I really do value their input a lot. And if they say no, Charmaine, like this isn't the right time for this, then I'd be like, oh, okay, well, reluctantly I would, have to turn it down. But my first thought was, yeah, we don't turn this down.
No,
and that was how that came about.
Yeah, no, absolutely. When a title fight comes your way, it has to be really, really difficult, no matter who it is against, for a competitor like yourself to say no. So let's just look at the champion that you'll be facing, Cris Cyborg. Has not fought now in almost 2 years. She's had a bad ankle injury. Before that, of course, she was on a tear. Besides having the one fight overturned for her use of stanozol, she's coming off of a 2-win fight streak against Fiona Mulot and Marlos Conan, both by TKO. Now, she is known as a striker. You are also known as a vicious striker. I want to ask you this first off. How much do you think ring rust or cage rust is going to be a factor when you face her?
I can't say for sure how much it will be. I mean, it all depends on each person's psyche, right? And ring rust for me, I never really had too much of an experience with it because I keep myself fairly active. So coming from a personal perspective, I can't say how I would think it would affect me. So I'm not really entirely certain how it's going to affect her. I don't know, what she's been doing over in Thailand, how much sparring she's been doing, that sort of thing. She did, however, she hasn't been completely off for 2 years. She did have the one kickboxing match or Muay Thai match against Urena Bars. So she hasn't been out of the spotlight that way for the 2 full years entirely. She has been in there a little bit,
Your record is 6-4, right?
Yes.
But I don't think everybody takes the time to realize that out of your last 6 fights, you're 5-1.
That's correct.
And you also have several first-round finishes.
All of my wins have come via first-round finish, including the one amateur fight that I had 3 weeks before I fought Ronda Rousey. So yeah, I mean, I've every fight I win, I finish, and I've only ever been in 2 decision matches. So.
Okay, so it's safe to say that you're a fast starter.
Yeah, and a fast finisher too, apparently.
There you go, fast starts, fast finish. That's the kind of fights that we want to see, and that's why I bring up the ring rust effect, is because sometimes you get a fighter that's got a little rusty hinge going on, and you can capitalize on that by being quick. Now let's talk about your last fight with Veronica. We talked about that on the show a few weeks back, but why don't you give the fans an idea of your ferocity? Now, were you not telling me that once you had her down and you were doing your business, you were screaming at her to stay down, were you not?
Yeah, it was getting close to the end of the fight, and honestly, I was surprised when she rolled over and gave me her front, because I'd had her back fairly deep, and I had given her a little bit of space because what I was planning on doing was actually choking her from the back, but I was keeping her so tight to the mat that I couldn't actually dig my hand in. So I gave her that little bit of space, and she turned over. I was like, well, sweet. And I started bringing down punches on her, and the ref was saying to her, you know, Veronica, you got to show me something. You got to do something. And I looked down at her, and I started yelling at her, Veronica, don't do anything. And I just kept punching her, and then next thing I knew, I was being tossed off by Mr. Franklin there.
By Greg Franklin. And if everybody's not aware of this, Rich Franklin's brother. No lie.
Yes.
That's why the guys.
No lie.
Yep. That's why the guys look so similar. Greg Franklin is actually Rich Franklin's brother, which I think is fantastic. Rich Franklin, by far my favorite old school fighter. Love the guy.
Yeah, I actually met him once, many years ago. I highly doubt he would remember me.
Yeah, I don't know. You kind of have the dimensions and the face and the physique. I'm sure people remember you. How tall are you?
6 feet.
6 feet tall. So it's not every day that you meet, a 6-foot woman who gets in the cage and smashes other people's faces in, and then also screams at them to stay right there and let them do it.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, speaking of that, go ahead.
No, I was going to say I was just up at a seminar in northern Saskatchewan here, and one of the participants wanted to take a picture with me, and then he posted it on Facebook, and he's like, wow, is Charmaine Tweet ever tall? And I was looking at the picture going, wow, I really am, and boy, am I ever skinny in this one, right on.
Hey, you'll be able to make weight really easy. Maybe you should have your PR guy bring around a little stool so you don't make the guys feel bad when they take selfies with you, kind of like what Sylvester Stallone has to do when he's with real-sized people. He hops up on a little stool so he looks bigger than he is.
That's a great idea. You know, when I take pictures with the kids, I always pop down on one knee so I'm right at their level, and I can almost do that with some adults, actually, but...
Let's not name any names. Okay, now, keeping in line with that ferocity, could you clear something up for us? Because I read this on your Facebook page and Cord's Facebook page. Did you go Alistair Overeem on somebody and break one of your training partner's arms?
I did actually break a training partner's arm a few weeks back. I feel terrible. He's such a sweet kid, and yeah, we broke both the radius and the ulna.
Wow.
And yeah, I feel really bad for the poor guy.
Okay, now fight fans, just wait a second. I feel really bad and this and that, but just 5 minutes ago you told me you thought you broke somebody's ankle just the other day too. Yeah,
I did. I did a technique that we're not really supposed to do on people below.
Is it something that Steven Seagal showed you?
Purple belt. Huh?
Is it something Steven Seagal showed you?
Yeah, right, I know. Yes, of course.
Sensei Seagal.
So, yeah, I was sitting there, I was putting it on, and I was thinking, geez, this isn't quite working. And so I readjusted, and just as I readjusted, I heard crack, 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 and Tim saying, tap, tap, tap. And I was just like, oh, Lord, no, I did not hurt somebody else. And he's fine. It was a little swollen the next day, but it was more like, when a knuckle cracks and you hear that pop, pop, pop.
Are you going to focus in on all the skills that you normally focus in on, or since this is such an important title fight and there's a lot of video, a lot of detail about Cris out there, are you guys going to try to formulate a plan specifically for her, or are you just going to do you?
To be honest with you, I started working with my striking coach probably about 1.5 years ago, almost 2 years ago. And ever since we first started working together, he's been teaching me stuff and bringing new skills into my arsenal that he had in mind specifically for her. Like, we knew more than likely that this was a fight that was definitely in my future. So it's like, okay, well, I'll teach you all this, and, you'll learn all this, and it'll work on these other girls who do what they do, but it is, almost tailor-made for what we're expecting to see from Cris.
So both of you guys are coming off of a 2-fight win streak, and this is something that I want to get across to the fans who are listening. If you take away those early fights in your career, right now, it's, if you look at your fight history, win, 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 loss, win, win. And so your recent history has not only been very busy, but very successful and all first-round finishes. So actually, when you look at it on paper, if you take away those first early fights, you guys are pretty evenly matched, and this is going to be a competitive fight. Now, could you explain for some of the casual fans or the fans who maybe not be tuning into WMMA how an early record can accumulate like that? It's been my experience that female fighters kind of get thrown to the wolves because there's so few competitors available for you guys to fight. Is that a correct assessment?
Oh, 100% correct. You know, and like you probably heard me say, my first fight was Ronda Rousey. Now, we didn't know that, you know, she would be the phenom that she is now, but leading up to that fight with Ronda, I had a lot of trouble getting girls with a record similar to mine in MMA to take my fight, strictly because of the record that I had in Thai boxing, which, you know, when you look at some of the European girls, isn't that all that impressive, but I only lost one match when I Thai boxed, and I'd won a couple of world championships, so I couldn't get anyone to take a fight with me. So, you know, I had to take what was coming at me, and I think Ronda had 2 fights already, so, you know, she'd already been in there. And then I fought Anna Barone, who had a few fights on me. I think she had like 5 fights or something like that at that point in time. So I was jumping in against girls who had quite a bit of experience, quite a bit more experience with me in the MMA world. So, you know, like very few of my fights that I've taken have they been soup cans. You know, I went over to India, and the girl I fought there was very, very inexperienced. So it wasn't a big surprise to me that I came out of that win that quickly. But I mean, I fought Adrienne Sieber, who, I don't know if people know Adrienne's name or not, but she's a Chicago police. She's a member of the Chicago Police Department. So, you know, she's very good with her grappling skills and her restraining skills and that sort of thing. So, you know, yeah, we kind of get thrown in, and you don't necessarily, maybe it's changing more now that there's more females involved in the sport, where you can actually match up against somebody who's closer to your level at that time. But yeah, I was going in with girls who were, you know, if not way above my level, slightly above my level when I first started. And I didn't have an amateur career. Some of these girls have pretty extensive amateur careers. I had one amateur fight that lasted all of 30 seconds. So, you know, I decided to make the transition over, and I didn't take a whole lot of time training for the transition. I just went into it pretty much just cold, with my Thai boxing skills and a little bit of grappling that I've been doing behind me, but not a whole lot.
And so now, obviously, since 2011 with the Ronda fight, you have become a complete mixed martial artist. So anywhere this fight goes, you're going to be prepared. Some of the submissions you hit have got to be because you are 6 foot tall. Would you agree with that?
Oh, completely. I have long legs, long arms. So, yeah, I mean, those, you know, when it comes to grappling, long limbs can be a little bit detrimental if you don't know where to hide them when somebody's going for a submission. But when it comes to locking submissions in, it definitely makes it a lot easier, especially against a shorter opponent.
Okay, well, I know that we are all looking forward to a competitive fight, whether it stays on the feet and you guys stand and bang, shameless plug.
See,
that's
what you did there.
See, I'm very, very clever. Most people do not, when they see my face, they don't think I'm clever, but I am. I'm much smarter than I look. Or whether it goes to the ground and you can get one of those long limb submission. Looks like you're a fan of the rear naked choke and the guillotine choke. Either way, I cannot wait to see this. It's right. It's the Friday before the Rousey-Zingano fight, so there's going to be all sorts of fights for the fans to watch. IFC 11 is absolutely great. I just looked at the card. We're going to talk about it, or we are talking about it on the show that this interview is currently going to be on. And now, before we wrap up, Charmaine, I'm going to hand the show over to you. Is there anything that you'd like to say to the fans and or the haters about your title match coming up?
Oh, gosh, I never really thought about that. You know what? I've been so damn busy training that I've never really thought about what to say to, I mean, always I have to thank my fans. They're amazing. You know, without the fans, I always say we fighters wouldn't be able to do what we love, because if there's no one to watch it, you know, there's really no reason to be doing it. And the haters, you know what? There's a quote that I've lived by for probably about the past 5 years, and I got it from a book by Wayne Dwyer, and it basically says, it's none of my business what you think of me. So really, like, I'll just go on living my life the way I do and doing what I do, and you can think what you want to think of me, but in the long run, it doesn't really make that much difference in my life.
Wow, taking the high road. Well, what I have to say to the haters of Charmaine Tweet is kiss my ass. So on that note, we're going to go ahead and wrap up. Charmaine, thank you so much. Cord, thank you so much for the exclusive interview. I know you guys are going to be super busy for the next 4 weeks. It means a lot for you to be on the show and to get a hold of me personally to do this. So after the fight or before your next fight, if you want to come back on, just give me a tweet. Huh?
I see what you did there.
All right, I'm clever. All right,
all sorts of punny today.
I am 100% punny. So just get a hold of me and we'll get you on the show right away. Okay?
All right.
All right.
Thanks so much for having me on again.
Yeah. Bye-bye.